Go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Turn the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, joined by my co-host, Steven Russo. We actually have a third Steven, so it's Steven Cube this week with Steven Rodriguez. He's of Bleav Sports Podcast as well as FTN. What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've never seen this many PH Stevens in a room at one time. We're not in the same room. We're in a Zoom meeting, but still, it's a lot to take in, guys.
I agree. It's definitely, listen, you guys spell it the right way. I know V is the old school, but PH is really the way to go. But yeah, anyway, a lot of exciting stuff going on. I know OTAs are wrapping up. I know, Steven, you host the podcast about both the Jets and the Giants. So, you're definitely well-versed with New York football, which is great. So we can maybe get a little bit of your perspective on the other side of football in New York. But just to kick it off, I know there's been a lot of, buzz going on around the team in OTAs right now. And I think the biggest thing, which Steven and myself touched on last week, was about Jamison Crowder. So, the contract was restructured. I know Crowder addressed it with the media saying, it is what it is. It's a business. He wasn't really offended or upset. He just kind of took it for what it was. And I think he handled it like a professional. And I feel like that's how he's always carried himself since he's been here. But, since they did save a little bit of cap, what do you guys think this means?
Who wants to go first?
You go ahead and take it, Steven.
I can go first. So, the thing with Crowder, I thought this was going to happen way earlier in the offseason, to be honest. So I feel like this is kind of something I expected. So I wasn't really surprised. In terms of money, I don't think they need to spend any more defensively. I personally think that maybe adding another veteran lineman doesn't hurt, being that they do have a few of those guys. I know right tackle is obviously a position that you're not just going to find on the street. I'm a Giant fan, I know, but it's, there's never enough bodies in camp. So I think something like that. But when I look at this move, money aside, it's interesting to me because there's so many receivers there now. They're all kind of the same. Keelan Cole, Mims waiting to come up. They're all just none of them's the guy. Crowder had some moments. So we have a bunch of could be guys. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out as a top dog out of all this.
That's very true. The one thing we've been talking about a lot is just the receiving room is deep. It's not stellar. It's solid. I feel like, if somebody gets hurt, another guy can jump in. Whereas last year, the Jets had no depth in the receiving room, which is why their offense was putrid for a lot of it, because Crowder was out, Mims was out, and you're rolling out, Chris Hogan, who was basically on his last legs, now playing lacrosse, and Barrios. It's you're not going to score a lot of points.
The widest receiving core in the NFL, too, by the way, by far the widest. And if they all play with Tyler Kroft, forget it. That's just insane. As a former white receiver, I coach receivers at a high school level. You got to, that's a W for the guys. You know what I mean? We got to take those where we can, especially at receiver.
Well, Steven, what do you think about this?
So first of all, I think, judging by last week's episode, I love this deal. I love how it worked out. I think it's the best case scenario that could have happened. I didn't want to see them cut bait and just cut Crowder. I didn't really want to see him traded because I don't think the value in return would have been that great. I think depth is something that we've talked about that the Jets haven't had in such a long time. So having depth and reliable depth at receiver is such a welcome change of pace that I really did love it. I think kind of the rise of Elijah Moore in OTAs gave Joe Douglas that, little bit of extra leverage. And we've kind of seen him act like that. So I'm glad he does. He puts a value on a guy. He draws his line in the sand, and that's what it is. And that's what you kind of need. But, and that's worked. But you've also seen in the case of Robbie Anderson where that really didn't work out in his favor. So I love this deal for the Jets. I like it for Jamison Crowder because we keep him here. Now, he's been the most reliable target for the last 2 years in this team. That's, not saying much about the rest of the receiving core, but I do think it's a good deal. And I like keeping Crowder. So what it opens us up for, potentially Morgan Moses. I think that's definitely still an option out there. We'll see kind of how the market falls and what we can do there. I think landing him would be great. That adds depth in another place, which is O-line, which I think we need. And something we'll probably talk about is Becton's health and what happens there. But then does it open us up to maybe sign, someone at corner too, which we've talked about for a long time, which is a veteran there is probably something that this team needs. So all in all, I think this worked out best possible scenario for the Jets, for Crowder, and learning from past mistakes and keeping talent around your young quarterback.
Yeah, totally agree. And something I actually just thought about when you're talking about clearing up that space, a move that really it could actually open up the opportunity for is potentially a trade for Nick Foles with the Bears, because we saw Nick Mullins just got scooped up. So, and that was the guy that I feel like most Jet fans and, I think people inside like the beat were saying it would be the most logical guy to back up Zach Wilson as a rookie. But Nick Foles really has no use now in Chicago with Andy Dalton. And obviously they have Justin Fields just waiting to take that job. I know he has a decent salary, but I think that actually could be something that Joe Douglas might be eyeing with the ties to Philly and whatnot. So I think that's interesting. And I think it'd be a great mentor for him. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been around the league for a while. And I don't think he's ever played in the system specifically, but definitely knows the concepts, because I feel like a lot of the stuff he was running in Philly and even when he was in Kansas City with Andy Reid, a lot of those principles definitely apply to his LaFleur offense. So that's just somebody else I think you can't really rule out, because we do need a backup quarterback in the worst way.
Yeah.
So do you guys, I need to know, are you Wilson guys? Like, were we on Wilson the whole way? I need to know this early on, because I know you're Jet fans. He's the savior now, but like before the draft, like were we a consensus on Wilson?
You go first, Steven.
Yeah, so I was in the camp of it's time to move on from Darnold. Well, that has run its course, and with the number 2 overall pick, you have to do it. I was also in I'm going to be happy with Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance. I wanted no part of Mac Jones. I knew Trevor Lawrence was going to Jacksonville, but if one of those 3 guys went number 2 to the Jets, I would have been happy and I would have been pleased with it.
Yeah. Similar situation for me. To be honest with you, I had it ranked Lawrence number 1, who I wanted until, we decided to win 2 games. But I actually, for a while, was Justin Fields 2 and Wilson 3. I wasn't like anti-Zach Wilson. I'm just being honest with you. Didn't watch a ton of BYU. Obviously, as the process of getting towards the draft, I did watch more clips of him. I watched the bowl game. But I just felt something about Justin Fields. I felt like he had a good NFL body. He played well on the big stage. He had a lot of that Deshaun Watson in him, showing up against Alabama and in this case, Clemson. I personally like Fields a lot and actually think he's going to do really well in the Bears. I don't know if Matt Nagy is the coach for him, but I think that he will be a solid pro, assuming he stays healthy, because obviously he did have some injuries in college. But like you said, I'm here for Wilson. As long as it wasn't Mac Jones, I was happy, and haven't heard the best things about Mac Jones so far, but obviously it's early, so I can't really judge too.
The Mac Jones 3rd overall crowd was just ridiculous. I couldn't stand them. So my thing is, I'm right where you are. I had Wilson at 3. I didn't see enough of Trey Lance to give him that. But my problem with the pick was just that I firmly felt that Justin Fields was the 2nd best quarterback in the class.
Yeah,
and it's
a lot of people do.
It's more so that, to your point, the Jets need a veteran backup quarterback, because aside from Trevor Lawrence, every other of these quarterbacks are going to kind of get to ease themselves in. I mean, Zach Wilson's going from BYU to you're the starting quarterback of the Jets and James Morgan's your backup.
Yeah.
It's like, so the world is yours and that's great. It's just a lot. It's a lot for a kid. There's some real life stuff to it. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just saying, I felt like Justin Fields might have been able to take the load a little bit better. That's an eye test thing. I have no analytics to back this up, but that's my only concern with Wilson. Big city, you're playing in BYU, it's yours. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Valid points. Right. And that I feel that way as well.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, we can say that we have time, and I think it's a good thing, because they're probably looking at it similar to the corner position, right? Is okay, we'll get these young guys, we'll get them reps in OTAs, we'll get them reps in the early part of training camp, because if we go to sign a Steven Nelson or Richard Sherman, they don't need to get those reps in. So it's the same thing with quarterbacks, but outside of Nick Foles, how many arms are really out there to go and get that would be a reliable veteran quarterback? I mean, now that Mullins is scooped up, I don't really know who else would be that option for them. So it's kind of it's a catch-22 there.
If Tim Tebow doesn't make it as a tight end with the Jaguars, maybe you guys give him another go again.
Let's not even put that idea out there. Please don't. I was pissed about that when that happened, and I don't want that. But kind of transitioning away from Crowder, I think a big topic of conversation has been about Makai Bechten. I know, he's dealing with plantar fasciitis, which is obviously a little troubling, especially for a guy of his size, which kind of leads me to his weight issues. No one knows what his true weight is at the moment. And I know he spoke to the media either yesterday or today, basically saying he doesn't know how much he weighs. And he was kind of giving a wink in the 360s, but I don't really know. I mean, I didn't play football growing up. I know plantar fasciitis is something that's really tricky for any athlete because it really lingers for a while. And I don't think there's surgery per se to make it actually get better. But what do you guys think about this? I mean, I love Becton. I thought he was awesome when he was on the field last year. I know that they play with fire on that Thursday night game, putting him back out there when he was already banged up. But I mean, I think just be as cautious as possible with he's your left tackle. He's the franchise. He's really like Trent Williams, assuming he doesn't get hurt. And, I love what I saw. And I'm sure as a Giants fan over there, you're probably a little jealous because Andrew Thomas certainly didn't look nearly as impressive as Makai Bechten.
So to tie Makai Bechten out, as a Giant fan, I'm actually more jealous about Elijah Vera Tucker. And I'm just going to tie all this together to the point where I really think the Jets should have drafted Tevin Jenkins. I love Elijah Moore, but I would have loved Tevin Jenkins for them for this reason. Look, Becton, everyone knew he's just massive. He's a massive human being. He's going to get hurt. He just based off his size and the sport he plays last year, dealt with it a little bit. I would love Vera Tucker just to stay at guard, but because they don't have depth at tackle, what I'm thinking in my head, and Vera Tucker's versatility is what makes him so great. Like, that's why everyone loves him. That's why you trade up to get him. But I love him at guard. So I worry that they might, Becton goes down, who's swinging out to left, whether it's Fant to left and then Vera Tucker's got to play right. It's just like a young guy like that. You kind of want him to be there, And so I love that he's a utility player. It's just with Becton going down, I feel like the next guy up's Tucker. And I just wish the Jets had one more guy so that he can stay inside. Because his tape, him as a guard, I mean, I loved it. If the Giants took him, because everyone was saying Rashawn Slater, if the Giants took Vera Tucker, I would have had no problem because they need that versatility because we have guard trouble and maybe we can swing him out to right tackle, but he's best inside by far.
Totally right.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're making the argument to go sign Morgan Moses. And then, then you allow George Fant to be that swing tackle for you. And that, mitigates any injury concerns over Becton. But if you get back to the Becton point, I mean, I'd say that I'm mildly concerned. I think nobody can argue that Makai Bechten exceeded all expectations for us in year one. I think if you were to point to one thing that you would say was a downside, it's that he got dinged in probably more games than not. And he would have to come out for a few plays at least. And, in the case of the Denver game, they played with fire and he was out. So that's the one downfall. Again, so mildly concerning. I would also say that, he knew a concern was weight and the fact that he hasn't been able to get that under control with a full off season, again, mildly concerning, but it's June. It's still OTAs. We still have August and training camp and games to play. So until it becomes a real issue to where he's not on the field and, mid to late August and missing actual action, I'm not going to hit the panic button just yet.
That's how I feel too. I mean, it's concerning that he has an injury that could linger, especially with his size. You're like, is this going to go into the season? Is it going to be the whole season? But hopefully he's resting. Hopefully he's working with, the best medical people in the world because every NFL team has the best doctors and strength and conditioning people. I just want his weight to go down a little bit. I think, he's still pretty young. I think he's 22 years old. I don't know if he turned 22 yet, but he was 21 last year. He's still young enough. He's still kind of like a child. He's not really a grown man. I mean, he is a grown man from a size perspective, but he doesn't have those habits and the maturity just yet. I know he has a good head on his shoulders. I know he works out with, I think his name is Duke Mayweather, who's one of those gurus from an alignment perspective. But, I'm not too worried. Like you said, if it lingers into the season, then I'm going to be worried because if Connor McDermott's playing left tackle, we have a lot of problems for Zach Wilson.
So you brought up Tevin Jenkins and how you would have taken him over Elijah Moore. I kind of mentioned Elijah Moore here to open it up with Crowder and the rise of Elijah Moore in OTAs. So just kind of broad question. What are we thinking about all this chatter about Elijah Moore, how he's performing? How do we think that's going to equate during the season?
Well, I love it. For me, it's just even the New York teams, I just want more offense from either side. I mean, for an outsider, and obviously, so I've run the New York football podcast, honestly, just wanting to vicariously be a Jet fan. A lot of my family members are Jet fans, and I see it. And the Adam Gase era was tough, man, especially offensively. And it's just you can have these pieces. You got to use them the right way. And I think out of all the guys, though, that we named, the Keelan Coles of the world, the Denzel Mims, and I love Mims. I think his upside as an outside guy, as an X receiver could be great. But Elijah Moore on the inside, him and Wilson could be dangerous, man. I mean, from a fantasy flyer perspective to a real life flyer perspective, I'm not saying any numbers. I'm just saying I think it's going to work because this dude on the inside, another guy I watched tape on, it's just when you got it, you got it. And I think Elijah Moore, him lighting it up in OTAs. And I mean, come on, I say this too. It's OTAs. I get excited. Yep. Football is back. It's not, it's not like they're going 100% here. They're learning the playbook and whatnot. So it's not surprising, but it's definitely encouraging. You want that. Look, Daniel Jones and Slayton came into the game as rookies together, and that was arguably their best year together. They worked together after practices. Slayton had a career year in touchdowns, and they haven't been the same since. That rookie year, you can take off. So if Elijah Moore gives you 8 touchdowns this year, I mean, as a Jet fan, you're pretty damn happy you took him in the second round. So
yeah, he's a first round talent. A lot of teams had him on their board, and Joe Douglas and was pretty ecstatic that he fell that far. I know, like, Will has the intro to his podcast about like solid congratulations, like, hey man, like, can't believe you were here. Like, I don't think that they expected him to be at 34 when they picked in the second round. So I'm super excited about him, but like you said, it's OTAs. I try to really throw cold water on it. I can't really, get too excited until it actually means something. Not even training camp practice, like preseason is like something, but week 1 is when it matters. Like if he, he goes out there and has 80 yards and 4 catches and a touchdown, I'm gonna be pumped because like, he didn't break out per se, but he showed you something. And like, I'm seeing articles like, he's like the best guy they've drafted in the receiving room in like 2 decades. I'm like, let's chill a little bit. It's not, he's got to play first, but he's a hard worker. Him and Michael Carter apparently are like the first guys in the building every day so far. You got to love that for rookies. Usually that's a pro, like a veteran pro type of thing, not rookies. So I mean, I'm excited, and I'm excited about Michael Carter too. He seems to be flashing as well.
Everyone's getting excited about OTAs. It's because we didn't have them last year, and I get the excitement. And that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like preseason, we'll count it. That's fine. Like even training camp,
even that,
whatever. Because like last year's training camp, if it's like that, it doesn't count. You know what I mean? Like they're walking through everything. No one's touching anyone. Like when bullets are flying, that's when it really matters. So I do like, I hate being the guy to be like, let's not get too excited, because I am excited. I love that football is back. We haven't had it. It's just like, at the same time, they're running 7-on-7 on air. So
yeah, I mean, OTAs and PFF grades are one and the same, where you can use them when they benefit your narrative and you discard them when they don't. So that's what I like.
Yep.
And that's what I do. But I think, Steven Rodriguez, I think you hit the nail on the head with just excited about offense. And that's really what it is. And I think the one thing that's kind of coming out about this is that Elijah Moore is not just a slot guy. And you can line him up anywhere, and he's making plays from anywhere, which is huge. And to have a burner like that and some guy that can be not just a gadget guy, but an all-around weapon, man, have we missed that. If he's reminiscent of Santana Moss, I think every Jets fan here that will be ecstatic. And that's something that we haven't had in clearly a long time. So it's offense, baby. Let's score points.
Yeah, totally agree. And I'm excited for him as well. I kind of touched on this, how, Elijah Moore and Michael Carter have been really trying to, get in that work. But one of the things I was actually reading today when like the beat was talking about some of the, pressers with the players, somebody, I guess, asked Zach Wilson, I guess, what he's doing now between now and training camp. So apparently he said he's organizing some workouts with the skill position players. I love that. I know, that's definitely like a veteran star quarterback move. I know he hasn't proven anything, but you got to really like where his head's at. He's really trying to build that chemistry with his receivers and tight ends, and really just, show them that he's really committed to being great and, getting to know them. What do you guys think about that? It kind of reminds me of Jets West with Sanchez back in the day.
Yeah. I love Jets West. And no, I like that. I like that Zach's doing it. It shows maturity. It shows that he's not acting like a rookie. He said it in an interview today. He doesn't want to be unprepared. So I love that he's doing it. I think it's a great sign for him, for the young guys, for the weapons around him. And I think it's probably at least a little bit indicative of what Sal is building here too.
That's literally what I was about to say. When I think of Zach Wilson doing that, I just think of that coach, like Robert Saleh. Like, it's just, you lead by example. And like, that's exactly what he is. And that's why I love the hire for them. Like, I feel like, don't mind my dog, if you guys could hear that.
It's okay.
Like, as soon as I started speaking, it's like, great. No, but yeah, I love his leadership. He's a lead by example kind of guy. And I think honestly, for a rookie getting thrust into the situation he is, just don't do too much. I think the more you do, it would get to his head. Like, play his game. Like, I didn't watch enough BYU, but when I put it on and saw him play, it's exciting. Like, his play's exciting. You don't have to live the Joe Namath lifestyle to be in New York. So be a good teammate, bring guys out to places. Danny's doing it more often with his offensive line. He shouldn't be taking his offensive line out, but by the way, they get him killed, but he's doing it, and that's good leadership. So like, these are positive signs, but I do think it's, it's a rub off of who's in charge there now. And I'm really excited about Saleh being, being the top dog.
I mean, I don't think there's one Jet fan that you talk to that isn't excited about Robert Saleh. It's just such a breath of fresh air. And Steve and I were actually talking about this before we went live. he did have an interview on the Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays, and it was awesome. I don't know if you got to get a chance to listen to that, because when you listen to this guy talk, it's just he's so real and just raw, and like he just knows what he is, and he knows what he isn't, and he's not going to give you anything different. Like he knows he doesn't know everything, and that's like the opposite of Adam Gase. Adam Gase was like the know-it-all who felt like his offense or nowhere else, and like he wasn't trying to fit the players in like to their strengths. It was just like, Le'Veon Bell, you don't fit in this Adam Gase offense, so I'm not going to give you the ball. It seems like Gase is doing everything that's a terrible thing. Saleh is doing everything he can to make sure that everyone is in a position to succeed on this roster, including the quarterback, obviously Makai Bechten and everybody else. And it's just awesome. I mean, Steven, you want to touch on, because I know you listen to it as well.
I was going to say, though, real quick, it's like Saleh's a defensive guy. Like Gase was only on offense, and it's very easy for a head coach who has a specialty in a spot to just be like, I'm only going to focus on defense and like show no love. And like, it's important to have that, especially for a young quarterback. It's the mistake the NFL makes all the time. Like you just expect these guys to get it right. Like these quarterbacks need guidance. Yeah, they need it.
Your coach, though. Your coach specifically, like I'm a big fan of Joe Judge. I know they went 6-10, but it wasn't necessarily the wins and losses that impressed me. It was his demeanor, how he was leading the team. They bought in, and it seems like Saleh's having the same effect on the team. And Joe Judge is the kind of guy you want to run through a wall for, because he's just like, he's a football guy and he's no nonsense, and he wants the team to give it their all every week. And the Giants did. I know, it didn't end up well the way the last week of the season, but they did fight. The defense was really tough, and I just feel like they took on the personality of their coach, and that's what I'm hoping with Saleh.
They were in the division hunt, which is all we could ask for. But the thing with Judge, when he came out and he was speaking just facts, like he wasn't giving a Dan Campbell speech. Everyone said this is a facade. He's Belichick, blah, blah, blah. And I literally stood there. I was like, I don't know if you guys hear people talk at podiums very often, but that didn't seem fake. And in the NFL, if that was fake, the grown players that are playing for him are going to weed that out pretty quickly. Like those things don't work in the NFL, at least not anymore. Like you have to be a leader of men, and like Saleh is. That's just what it is. And so like there's just something about them that he commands a room. And if he's got the X's and O's on one side down, with Judge, he's a special teams guy. Another thing, people are laughing at him. He knows football. He could lead a team, and I give me that over a quarterback guru any day of the week in the NFL.
You nailed it. I agree.
Any day.
Yeah. So Steven, I agree with you. I could listen to Robert Saleh talk about anything for hours on end. That's really what I came away from listening to that podcast thinking. But listening to him talk about building his staff with a mix of guys that understand the systems that he wants to run, but also guys that bring fresh ideas and have had experiences elsewhere under different coaches. It sounds so simple, but it's such a fresh way to look at it for Jets fans. And I loved every bit of it. Listening to him talk about how he came away impressed from his pre-draft meeting with Zach Wilson, where, he sat in the meeting with Greg Knapp, and it was his first go around, really on interviewing an offensive player. And he came away just wowed. And so did Greg Knapp, who has interviewed guys like, Peyton Manning, or coach guys like Peyton Manning and Steve Young. I think what I took away from it is that he's the complete opposite of Adam Gase, which couldn't be anything better for this franchise and these fans.
I mean, how quickly could Adam Gase defer team problems to other people? The guy pointed fingers more than anybody. He pointed fingers at players. Yep. This is what I couldn't figure out, how he was still there for a second season. I'm like, the whole drama with Jamal Adams and just all that little stuff was just like numbing to me. And I wasn't even a Jet fan. It's like, this is so bad. Like,
imagine being a fan. It sucks.
It was awful.
But there's one good thing that he did. He got rid of Mike McCagnon. We'll give him his one dub. That's it. Everything else is
one claim to fame.
Yep. Yeah. I'll give him that.
That's the one thing that he did give Jets fans. But you know what? It's, Saleh, it's hard to come away unimpressed by the guy. Just the way he speaks, the way he talks about the job, that he realizes that he doesn't know everything, and he wants to surround himself with people that will give different opinions. And that's where good thoughts and good ideas come from. And I can only, we keep going back to the Gase joke, but I can only think about what offensive meetings looked like with him and Dowlaga's in the room. Hey, Adam, you think it's a good idea? Yeah, it's a good idea. It's awful. So it's it's so good and refreshing to hear a guy like that I could literally listen to forever. Listening to him talk about the way that he connects with players. It's refreshing. And
some of my Adam
love it.
Gase rants on the Bleav in New York Football podcast are easily the best episodes. It's just like, because I'm not a numbers guy, but his numbers are just so easy to tee off on. Like, you can't have the identity of an offensive guy and just not even just be bad at offense, but literally be the worst. Come on, like, that's too easy.
the best weekly programming last year was Gase Freedom Watch. Just looking at all the guys that were on his team, and then went elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie, you got Devontae Parker, Gesicki, Kenyon Drake, you name it. Every single guy was productive elsewhere, which honestly, that could be big things for Chris Herndon. Like, actually, like, I'm kind of off on him because, he's been inconsistent with injuries, and, he had that one flash in the pan with Sam at the end of 2018. But you know what? He does have a lot of talent. He is an athletic specimen. So maybe he's the guy that really shows that Gase was holding him back for 2 years. I know he didn't play a lot the first year with Gase, but I really think that somebody on this team who was there last year is going to break out because of Gase being gone.
You say Chris Herndon's name, and I was waiting for it to be brought up, and it's just like,
here we go.
When is it over? Like, when do you give up? The fumbles were it for me last year. He started fumbling. I'm like, come on, like, anything, dude. Just like throw us a bone. They gave him every chance.
Yeah,
they gave him every chance possible, I thought.
I mean, the offense was just atrocious every way at which, except for Makai Bechten.
But he was like the only person there at one point in time, and he still ended up with like one target. I mean, again, that's probably the regime there calling plays, and obviously it was bouncing back and forth. Gase 1 week, not Gase.
Yeah. And it's just the mentality of Jets fans. We cling to flashes, and he flashed really good in the final 4 or 5 games of 2018, and we're clinging to that hope. But truth be told, I mean, he's unproven, and honestly, what we've seen of him has been probably more bad than good. I'm still a believer, but you got to remain as objective as possible. Could he, quote unquote, break out in this LaFleur offense? Yeah, but objectively speaking, chances are probably, going the other way.
I have him in dynasty leagues everywhere. That's literally the only reason I say that, because I was like, super athletic. No one's taking him. I'll take a flyer on him. Like each of the last 2 seasons. I'm just waiting. Just waiting.
That's like buying Dogecoin at this point. That's literally what it is. I think. Wait, really quickly before we go. The one thing I could say about him, he's off scholarship. If he doesn't perform in camp, he's gone, and he'll be elsewhere probably, and probably never will have an NFL career. But yeah, sorry, Steven. Didn't mean to cut you off. Oh,
that was all good. Sorry. Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, along those same Herndon lines, I don't think we can hit the panic button just yet, but there is a sense that maybe Denzel Mims is getting those kind of vibes. Like, are we hitting the panic button on Denzel Mims yet? There's, reports that he was operating with the twos the other day. Keelan Cole taking his spot in with the starting group. I mean, are we to that point if we're looking objectively at this, or is there still hope for Denzel Mims here?
I think Keelan Cole is probably a practice superstar. I have a very good feeling just because of that one play he made with the one-handed catch down the sideline. Is very infamous. This is like the catch of the year 3 years ago.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I feel like he could be having a really good camp. I don't want to hit the panic button on Mims because he's too young and it's too fresh. And obviously we just said everything we said about the offense last year, and he still showed glimpses. I still think he's going to be the outside guy there. Like, I think he'll get the looks. I think he's going to line up at the numbers, and he's going to get Zach Wilson. For as much as he's a runner, like he's the only runner you have. Like, I'm sorry, Tevin Coleman, like, unless Michael Carter breaks out, the Jets are throwing the ball. And with LaFleur calling the plays, like, these targets have to go somewhere. Herndon, probably, like, you know what I mean? Like, just go down the list. It's like, and Elijah Moore can only do so much. Well, Corey Davis, how could I forget? Corey Davis, probably going to get a lot of these. But alongside Corey, I do think he's probably the next guy on the outside there. I think he plays a very similar role to Slayton, like downfield, even though he's just, not naturally separating.
I'll say this about Mims. Here's a couple of things. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to be optimistic here. I think with him, he didn't really have an offseason last year, and he was hurt from the start. So he basically missed all training camp, and he missed, I think, 6 games. So he realistically had his first real NFL offseason. And even with that, like the few times he did get on the field last year, he showed you something. He can have those like jump ball catches. He can block. I know that's something that you don't want to talk about for a receiver, but blocking for receivers is super important.
Talk about it. Please talk about it.
No, it's important. And Corey Davis is good at it as well. So I think, if he's maybe not contributing as much in the actual statistics category, I think blocking is something he can definitely do. And I wouldn't really put too much of him running with the twos. He's been hurt, which obviously is not a good sign. So I think he was just getting up to speed. Let's just see how he's performing in the preseason and also in training camp before we really push the panic button. But like I said, we still have Corey Davis. We have Elijah Moore. We have practice superstar Keelan Cole, Sticky Hands, as I like to call him. It's my little nickname because of that sick catch against the Pats, which was awesome. And then obviously we have Berrios, who sneaky could make some plays. I mean, he's probably going to be the punt return guy, maybe kick returns. I'm not really sure, but I'm optimistic about Mims. I think a change of system will help him, and I think having a real NFL offseason will definitely help him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he showed flashes last year, and we're clinging to those. He is a good blocker. Don't discount blocking. I mean,
blockers are people too.
Corbett and Keyshawn were very good blocking receivers. Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker were very good blocking receivers. And you couple those with some of the best seasons a running back has had, in Jets history. So I love that. But I'm not hitting the panic button on Mims yet either. I'm trying to remain objective. He showed flashes last year. Really, though, those flashes were with Joe Flacco at quarterback, which I couldn't really understand it. And
he was our better quarterback.
That's maybe
it's a
that's
fact.
why.
It's not even debatable.
Yeah, but
he's
you have to
Joe Flacco.
You have to remember,
yes.
You have to remember that he was a injury riddled rookie early on in the year with COVID obviously threw a curveball at everything. So you got to grade him on a curve. I'm not throwing him out yet. I'm not hitting the panic button, but I still think it's unproven at this point. And I think Jets fans are putting a lot of hope in Denzel Mims that he can be, the guy. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I think a solid contributor is probably well within reason.
I've been inputting fear into Eagles fans saying that Joe Flacco is going to start because everyone loves Jalen Hurts this year. And it's just like, well, you have Joe Flacco behind him. So you know what that means. It's a matter of time. It's when, not if, Joe comes knocking. But to what you guys said, I love that no one talks about that last year. Like rookies had it really tough, man.
Totally.
We mentioned it that like training camp really didn't count. Like it didn't. They did nothing. There was nothing until August. Like we're lucky we had football.
Yeah,
and so they lost preseason games. They lost reps. They lost plate. Like that, it matters.
Yeah,
it
matters. I know everyone hates the preseason. You're like, it doesn't mean anything, but it really does because this is how you evaluate the guys who makes the team and who doesn't. I'm happy. Obviously, they got rid of one of the games and they made it a regular season game, but that's obviously going to be a meaningless game probably because it's an extra one. But it still matters. And you know what? It gets you excited, especially, it's football's on. So you need to see these guys being evaluated with the bullets flying. It matters. So it's definitely good to have that back as much as I like to call it, to quote Joe Benigno, non-alcoholic beer. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
So Steven, before we let you run, we'll open it up to you for some news on our crosstown rivals. What's going on at Giants camp? What's the buzz around there? How's Danny Dimes looking and all that good stuff?
So we feel great. I mean, I feel great over in Giants camp. I'm used to people just, shitting on Danny. It's cool. It's not going to go away. I mean, as long as I've been a New York Giant fan, our head coach has been on the hot seat and our quarterback's been on the hot seat. So it's like literally back to Eli. It's the same thing. Obviously, it's a prove it year for Danny. It's the same thing you've heard before. But I got to be honest. I mean, this is what I love about the Jets and Giants right now. You have to get back to your identity. I know regimes change, but I think teams stay the same. And if the Jets and Giants want to be good, you got to play defense. And I think the Giants are going to have a top 2, top 3 defense, if not the best defense in the league. Our DC and Patrick Graham.
He is awesome, I will say.
Filthy. The defense got better. We didn't have a defensive line, and we literally picked up Shelton for nothing. Aziz is a first-round talent we traded back for. The Giants traded up, traded back. My head was blown in the draft, but we got Aziz out of it. We re-signed Leonard, took care of that. Dalvin's gone, but we took Dexter in the first, who I think is poised to break out too. So our D-line's not my issue, and we've been scrapping together D-ends, but it doesn't matter because Patrick Graham makes sacks for himself. It's insane what they were able to do based off scheme last year.
Blake Martinez, I love him. I think he's great.
If Blake stays healthy, no concerns in the linebacker group. They also added depth to it, which makes me feel better. They took Reggie Ragland just because Joe Judge just takes every former Alabama player. You got to love that. Alabama good at football. And then I think our secondary dude is elite. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. James Bradbury, I think, is the most underrated player in football. He
is really solid. I think I was a little skeptical when they gave him a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, he was solid. I felt like that scheme always benefited, Josh Norman as well. When you saw him outside of Carolina, he wasn't as good of a player in Washington and obviously Buffalo after. But no, he he was a legit lockdown corner last year. He was really good. I was very impressed by him.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense is the only, like, because like I'll get to the offense. The only thing that stresses me out about this team is coaching in terms of our offensive coordinator situation. And Garrett, that's the hiccup. And other than this team, for some reason, just holds on to Evan Ingram like a puppy they just brought home. He needs to be got. Talk about the Chris Herndon of the Giants. Evan Ingram. He's
better than Chris Herndon. Come on, let's.
He had easily one of the worst seasons as a tight end I've ever seen, and he made the Pro Bowl. How is that possible? Who allowed that? He caused like 9 interceptions. He had like 11 drops. He had 3 drops in a season before that. 11. It was just staggering.
I feel like Evan Ingram is the equivalent for the Giants as Alfred Payton is for the Knicks and Aaron Hicks is for the Yankees. Literally, He is public enemy number 1 for the fan base. They always will blame him for everything.
But it's his fault. Okay,
I get it.
Look, when Eli was getting tip passes, I wanted to blame the receivers too. But then I was like, okay, Eli is causing these turnovers. People rip Danny. Every day they wake up, they just crap on Danny's turnovers nonstop. Fumbles intercept. But that's mostly his rookie year. And then if you look at last year's fumbles, half of them was because their left tackle that they drafted in the first round was not that good.
Couldn't be mine.
Like, yeah, but then you look at his numbers, and I think he's looking at like 11, 10 touchdown passes to like 12 interceptions. They're not throwing the ball enough. They're not taking deep throws, and he's eating interceptions because they're going off this guy's hand. Realistically, he should have finished like 10-4. And like, I don't want to make it an excuse, but like legitimately. Like actually causes.
I
got facts to back it. He's my public enemy number 1. I'm done. This is the hill I die on my podcast every week.
Yeah. So realistically, what do you think is in store in 2021 for Daniel Jones and the Giants? I mean, are you gonna, is he gonna make the leap in year 3 that we were hoping Sam Darnold would make last year, or is he gonna, are you guys gonna be in the same position the Jets were come the end of the season?
So all I'm asking out of Jason Garrett is to score 21 points per game. I think if the Giants can get their average up to that, and it shouldn't be hard with Saquon back, I think Danny, the only thing he's lacking in becoming a complete passer is his feel. I think naturally when he plays football, he just lacks a little instinct. I think he's mechanically literally built to be an NFL quarterback. I think if he goes somewhere else, it's a matter of time. He needs to grow and get the reps. Hasn't played 16 games yet. So for me, it's his health and just really finding that feel. But you know what? They finally put pieces around him. We drafted Tony, who I don't know how you guys feel about Tony, but I like it personally because it adds speed to our team. Our offense is very stagnant, and we need guys like Galladay, Tony, and Saquon who could just make something happen like this. Because to be honest, our offense isn't going to change overnight. We didn't fire Adam Gase. We could have fired Garrett. He's still there. I don't think the offense is going to change much. We're going to use our tight ends. Rudolph is going to be huge in the red zone, but I still think it's going to be try to run. I don't know if it's going to work. We try to run and then use the play action. It's a Jason Garrett offense. So, but if we can get to 21 points offensively, I think the defense can do the rest.
That's optimistic. I mean, basically I posed this question to one of my buddies, Block, who's a big Giants fan. I said to him, was like, so let's just say, you go 9-8 with these new 17 game schedules, and Daniel Jones was very, are you moving on, or you keep running it back one more time?
So it's funny. I mean, there's a few ways I look at this. I personally don't mind going the veteran approach. With the Giants built the way they are, if we somehow manage to get money to spend, which would be great. I know we spent a lot of it, but Russell Wilson's been linked to us forever. He wants to be out of Seattle. We have 2 firsts next year.
He denied that.
I don't want to draft another guy is where I'm at. If we're out on Daniel, and I'm not, I do think he's going to be around. I don't know for how long. I just think he's staying with Gettleman. That's another conversation I don't think we have time for. But he's tied to Gettleman. And so as long as Gettleman's there and he keeps winning right now, I mean, he's winning by bringing in Joe Judge. His drafts have been great. So if he's there, Danny's staying, and that could be for 2 years, or it could be they give him a new contract.
I'll say this. I think just how the Giants as an organization run, I think that he'll get more of a leash than Sam Darnold, even if he's like kind of this year, like a little bit better than last year, not what he was as a rookie. I could see him at least playing the contract out, and then they kind of just go making that decision. Because like you said, he's tied to Gettleman. So as long as Gettleman's here, he's here. And
he's a Mara guy. That's the thing. The owners love him. Once the owners love him, they have the tie to the Mannings. It's why Gettleman's still there. And it's why Garrett's still there. It's just the way it works. I mean, it's organizations around the league. It's you don't love it, but that's the ownership part of football. It's
There's nepotism. Everyone knows it's a thing.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And that's part of the issue. But the Giants were able to get past it by hiring Judge, honestly, because him putting together this coaching staff of just studly coaches. Where did he find Patrick Graham? Like, I know, like he was a DC before. He wasn't doing this. So like they just have this natural chemistry that it's like, and this is what I was going to get at. We're taking the stink off us. What Judge did the most last year was change the identity of the Giants. Like that. We were losers. We were still losers last year. We were bad losers. Like our offense stunk, our defense stunk. We weren't competitive. People didn't want to watch. Like it was bad. It was really bad. And so in a season, people worry to play the Giants now. We have an identity. They had no idea. And I think Saleh is going to do that for the Jets. It's like you're not the Jets just coming around. All right, here we go. We can probably get this win out of the Jets. It's like
risky. That's the word.
Well, here we go. We got our work cut out for us. Going into Seattle last year and beating Seattle with Colt McCoy, it just tells you everything you need to know. Yeah.
No, that was impressive. I have to say, no one thought they'd win that game, and they did. So you got to give credit where it's due.
So in that scenario, though, like, you know, you go 9-8, the offense and Daniel Jones looks meh.
Yeah.
But they fire Garrett. Are you happy and keeping Daniel Jones? Or are you still looking elsewhere and for a veteran?
So that's a really good question because, like, I mean, I actually stand firmly on, and I was saying this, like, offense coordinators should stay with their coaches, and like now Danny's like that's why they kept Garrett, so this way they don't, pull him too many ways. So like it's tough. I'm in a bind. I say yes because like I love Danny, but it's like. It's a tricky question, and I don't know where the year is going to bring us. My thing, though, is like my outlook is that the Giants can be good even without Danny being at his peak and Danny being Danny. And so for me, and I'm a Mets
defensively
fan, our best players on it. Like again, I'm a Mets fan, so be careful what you say here. I'm sensitive. Okay,
so am I. Don't worry.
But yeah, so like Lindor, like slumping, but your best player doesn't have to be your best player all the time for you to be good. And like if the team around him is built to win, like as long as Danny's doing what he has to do, like his worst game was the Bucks and the Steelers. Everyone loves the Steelers game. He threw those 2 games away. I have no problem coming at him when it matters. Like if he's doing things like that, you're gone. That's fine. You can't win games like that. But if he's battling through and doing what he can for the team to win, and like the numbers are the numbers, like I'm just turn on the film the next day type of guy and see who won and lost you the game. And I could tell you last year, I just don't think Danny lost us enough of those games.
That's fair. And to quote Robert Saleh, you don't have to carry us. We'll carry you. That's
there you go.
That's exactly what you need from him. But, thank you so much, obviously, for joining us. I know you got some stuff going on at Bleav Podcast. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, so the Bleav Podcast, I'm trying to get to it as much as possible, but I have been busy lately. I'm working over at FTN. We have a bunch of stuff going on. I am a producer over there. I actually ended a show while we were on stream, so that's why I've been looking on 2 screens here, going back and forth. But yeah, work doesn't stop. Football doesn't stop. Sports don't stop. And honestly, guys, check it out. It's fantasy stuff. It's betting stuff. FTN Network, FTN Bets. I work for all of them. They're the same thing. We have too many places, but go to one of the 3 and you'll find me. And I had a blast on here, guys. Honestly, I've been looking for Jets people. As a Jets host myself, I talked to my one friend. Shout out to Bill Campy. He comes on. He's my resident Homer Jet fan. He's the guy I go to for my information because it's like, give me a pulse. How are the fans feeling? Like, where are we at? I have no one to talk Jets to. Nobody wants to talk about it openly. I feel bad for you guys. I feel bad for it.
Well, like I said, welcome to the TOJ family. There's a lot of people besides us, which I'm about to plug right now. Everyone, like I always tell you, don't forget to subscribe to our show on YouTube as well as on the TOJ feed. Obviously, on the TOJ feed, you'll get the TOJ pod with Will Parkinson. And most importantly, Badlands, best Patreon $5 you'll ever spend with Connor and Joe. They're doing the docuseries right now about the NFL draft. And don't forget to check out the merchandise that Joe has been tweeting out. It's awesome. I personally got the tank top. I know other people are getting some stuff as well. Any last words, Steven Russo?
No, man, I think this was great. Steven Rodriguez, thanks for jumping on. Good to talk a little Giants too. I hope you're feeling the Jets optimism here, and you can kind of get a pulse of the fan base through this. Where it's a breath of fresh air here. We're entering a new phase, man. We feel good.
Yeah, listen, for Jets fans, it's just like once Brady left, I'm like, there's a window. There's a window. Like somebody do something.
And then all of a sudden Josh Allen got really good.
Yeah,
And crushed
worst
our
nightmare.
dreams.
really good.
But yeah, thanks again, man. We'll definitely have to do it soon during the season. And everyone take care. Have a good one.